What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Whole Views, and today we get to talk about James Bond. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. We appreciate every view, every thumbs up that we get. We thank everybody for helping us to continue to grow the project. Let's go ahead and get talking about James Bond. This movie was supposed to come out in 2020, and the whole pandemic happened and it got pushed back. I actually forgot all about James Bond. Didn't know when it was coming out. When it did finally come out, my excitement level was way down for it. When those trailers came out, I was just kicking around the ideas of doing a channel at all. So I didn't do any kind of reaction and didn't talk about it. But I did feel like the action was very crisp in the trailers, and I knew that that would be the main focal point in this final Daniel Craig helmed James Bond film. Overall, I gotta say that I'm satisfied with it, and I think a 6.8 out of 10 is a fair, decent score. I thought it was a decent to good type movie. I would recommend it. I do feel like you'll have a good time watching it, but it didn't grab me as much as the original Daniel Craig James Bond, which was Casino Royale. That was my one. So let's go ahead and get into my numbers and why I break it down, how I break it down, and then I'll get into the spoiler talk about what I like and what I didn't like about the film overall. Starting with story, I gotta give it a 6 out of 10. The reason why I give it a 6 is because it was a cool enough story. Like, it was fine, but the motivation for the bad guy, Rami Malek's bad guy, I wasn't feeling him or his motivations towards the end of the film. There's a lot that's connected to previous films, and that's understandable because this is a send-off for Daniel Craig, but at the same time, I didn't want to have to think about everything that happened in the last 4 Bond movies to kind of wrap this one up. I don't think you need to do that, but they chose to do it here, and at times it was cool, and other times it kind of was like I kind of forgot about what's going on, and all that connective tissue just was too much to me, at least. Visuals, I give an 8 because overall I feel like the visuals did deliver what the trailers kind of sold me on. It sold me on the fact that it was going to be a good, strong action movie, and there's a lot of great action sequences. Specifically, like the chase scenes in the beginning, like that opening action montage that you have between like him and getting found out, and just all that stuff is real good. And then you get a lot of good action sprinkled throughout, which would lead me right into the pace of the film, which I give a 7 out of 10. The reason why I go 7 out of 10 on the pace is because I feel like it was too long. Like, as I was watching, we get to a point where I'm seeing the plot unfold, but I don't know where we're going with it. There were some slow moments kind of toward the middle, and then a little bit toward the end, kind of when we get to like the Rami Malek character. I felt him, actually. I felt his motivations for doing what he was doing, and I didn't see him as a bad guy for a big portion of the film. But when you get to the end, it's like he jumps from reasonable bad stuff to what are we doing? And that's kind of how I feel about the pace of the film. Like it was all over to a certain extent, and I just wasn't engaged the entire time. Rewatchability on this one is where it takes a hit for me, because I say 5 out of 10 on the rewatchability, because yes, I recommend it for anybody who's a Bond fan or anybody who wants to see some good action, but to sit through it all again, I don't know if I can do that. I kind of gotta say no to like rewatching it myself. I would want to catch certain parts, absolutely. Some of the action, maybe some of the dialogue, to see if I missed some things with the motivations of the bad guys, and I'll talk about that. But specifically, nah, I can't say that I'm intent about, hey, I watched this with my homeboy, me and my wife. Let's turn on that Bond movie. Like, nah, we not finna turn on that Bond movie. Like, we not finna watch that whole thing. Finally, the overall entertainment value. I have to give that overall value score like an 8 out of 10, because again, as I'm watching it, it's like, it's fine, it's cool, the action is crisp, Bond is doing his Bond thing for the majority of the film, but it's like, man, I kind of don't want to see this again. I guess that's the best way to put it. Like, watched it one time, it was cool, had fun during the fun moments, understood why we got to where we got to, but would you watch it again? Probably not. Good time one time, not a good time multiple times. That's why, entertainment wise, 8. Fun, in waves, in spurts. So let's just go ahead and do the spoiler thing now and talk about the movie, because it's been out for a little while. I'm kind of late to it, but let's go ahead and break down, you know, some of the things I just didn't like, some of the things I did. Action, fire, every time it's on the screen. But the story just was all over the place. Like, when I look at Bond, like, he's a ladies man, right? Every movie there's a different girl. But then in this movie, very early on, he's, you know, right at the beginning of the early action, he's saying, like, Vesper, he's at her gravesite. Now, she's from Casino Royale. Like, in real life, that movie was 2006. Like, man, that's a long time ago to say, like, we're gonna do a callback to that right now. And for him to say he still miss her, it's like, you still missing her? Like, that's a long time. Like, you've been with a bunch of other females. I feel like that was there's a few other things that was like, okay, I liked the interactions between, I think it's Letitia Lewis, I could be saying her name wrong, but the black female 007, I liked her, and I liked the combativeness that they had throughout. But then at the end, they kind of let it down, and she kind of shows respect and kind of, oh, I'll give the 007 designation back to him for this mission. And it's like, why do all that? Like, you picked on him every time you got a chance throughout the film, and then you just all of a sudden feel some, like, respect well up in you, and you give that designation back to him. I feel like that was, I didn't like it. I didn't like that. The villain. One of my issues with Rami Malek is that his delivery is boring. Like, his face and his stature is menacing in the beginning when he first shows up, and his plan made me want to get behind him, being the guy who was taking out Spectre and, like, killing them all. It's like, man, why is he the bad guy here? Like, he's fine. But my biggest issue is, like, when he gets to the end and he decides, like, I'm gonna kill everybody. It's like, when did you change? What happened that made you want to kill the world now? Like, he sat down and he talked and he monologued, and I was like, one, I don't see any connection. Like, what are you talking about in this monologue? And then two is like, what happened that made you say, Spectre, kill my family, I'm gonna destroy Spectre? Great, that's a bad organization. Then you went to kill the whole world, like, release toxins on everybody. It's like, I don't know, man. I feel like that one thing that he did there was taking it too far and making him, like, taking away a good motivation and turning him into mustache twirling bad guy. Like, yeah, I'm gonna kill the whole world. Like, that just it don't make much sense. You was making sense, and now you're not. I'm sorry I didn't research names, but the girl from Knives Out was in this, and she had a small role. I kind of wish she had a bigger role. To me, again, Knives Out was the first movie I ever watched with intentions on reviewing, and I feel like she was the best actress in that show. Knowing that she was on screen with all those names, and she was incredibly convincing there. And then when I saw this, me and my producers watched, I was like, dog, she's incredibly convincing to me here. Like, she really seems like a ditzy newcomer to the spy game, and she's just enthusiastic and ready to go. Her scenes were really good to me, and, like, she really popped off the screen to me. I really hope, I know that they're doing a Knives Out 2. I really hope that she's featured even more in there and, like, gets to do more than just be the quiet, submissive person, like, that she wasn't the first one. Like, I want to see her do more like she did in this one. So it was cool to see her, and I liked her performance. Again, the action, super tight, super crisp. The only thing that was, like, unsatisfying about the action is that the Daniel Craig James Bond movies have been based on, like, this gritty James Bond who kills. Like, he really out here mowing people down, and it's been relatively realistic. But then we've gotten to a point where, like, James Bond does not get shot, and he goes through the entire film with all these bad guys shooting all these guns, and everybody's missing. It's not that hard to hit somebody, especially with some of these souped up guns these boys have. Like, hey, James Bond should have been shot. Like, nicked in the thigh, hit in the arm, the shoulder, something. Somebody should have hit him at this point. And he goes through the whole movie and gets shot, like, at the very end. It's like, somebody else. All them bullets, somebody would have nicked him by now. That white shirt he was wearing at the end should not have just had 2 holes. It should have had a bunch of shrapnel, a whole bunch of other stuff done to it. He should have been in much worse condition. But besides that, you know, it was cool. It was a cooler action film. Too long to watch again. not paced well enough to watch again, but definitely worth that first look. Those are my overall thoughts. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please leave us a thumbs up, subscribe to the page, hit the alerts, stay around, help us to keep growing the channel. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, come back, check out more videos.